Hello and welcome to a late night Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Cott. I'm delighted, as always, to be joined by the one and only Keith Jackson. How's it going?
Yeah, good. I can't actually remember the last time that we had a packed midweek kind of top flight fixtures list or schedule of matches. So that was unusual tonight, trying to keep an eye across as many as possible. Unfortunately, I'm probably the only person in Scotland who doesn't have a dodgy stick, so I was stuck. I was stuck with Hibs Rangers. One goal in the first 5 minutes, and then 85 minutes are not very much, but there was some good signs for Rangers, positives. Story of the night, game of the night was probably in Paisley.
Yep.
2 draw, St Mirren and Hearts. It looked as if it was 3-1 to St Mirren at one point. The goal was VAR'd out. And I would imagine at Celtic Park, even though people will be pretending not to be too worried about Hearts right now, I think that would have helped with the sort of feel-good factor of the night, which started with protests outside the front door, but ended with Martin O'Neill kind of kicking off his second stint, just in the way that you probably expected him to. And Celtic cut the gap at the point, the points gap at the top of the table from 8 points down to 6, isn't it?
Yep.
Mick, obviously you were there. Talk us through the evening.
I always love doing these videos, Keith. I see your roaring fire in the background. I must admit, I take a lot of pleasure seeing you nice and warm back there and I'm out here in the cold.
It's just for show. I'm actually, the house is that warm just now that I don't need to put the heating element on. But if you want me to do that, I can.
All right. I have to borrow one of the 3-bar one. Bring it up with me. Here at Celtic Park, it was a very straightforward night for Celtic, and probably just what they needed, given the kind of the wild and incredible events and dramatic events of the last few days. I see Daniel touched on it. There was a protest outside the ground before the game, a few thousand fans. I didn't think it was that vociferous, to be honest with you. I went and kind of a look around and see what's going on. There was a few chants and songs and all that stuff. I didn't think it was too over the top, but the message we received from McDermott Desmond was here tonight. A rare appearance at Celtic Park. He got a warm welcome and walking into the ground, as you can imagine. He was told where to go, and it wasn't up the steps, that's for sure. And there's a few chants throughout the night. It's a strange atmosphere because obviously the ire in the stand is not going away, but there's also the warmth for Martin O'Neill, and it was bizarre seeing Martin O'Neill with a tracksuit on and a pair of coppers as well. The old coppers on as well. It was and fair play to him. If you kind of squinted, it just looked like the olden days. Really, he was jumping about the touchline. He barely sat down. He sprung up when they scored and all that stuff. I said, if you kind of a slight squint, it looked like kind of like 2003 all over again. And then I stand up at the end, I feel my knees, and think that's definitely not 2003 all over again. My creaking joints, unfortunately. But I think it was probably what Celtic as a club needed. It was like a real. It became a bit of a feel-good kind of night, having the kind of the bad temper stuff and the kind of mean and moody kind of atmosphere in the club in recent weeks and months. I've also got to say this wasn't some nostalgia fest and the kind of rewind festival. There was actually some interesting things happening on the pitch as well. Very direct, get the ball forward quickly. Didn't always come off, but it seemed to be that the much talked about horseshoe of doom, what you call it, or horseshoe of death, or what you call it. It was different. It was definitely more direct. It was not too much in terms tactically, a lot of tweaks. Austin Trusty coming back at the team for the first time, it was a kind of telling point. He was in Siberia for a few months under Brendan Rodgers. You had Engels and Negrin both playing in the middle of the park for the first time. Negrin playing the left and Engels in the right. I tried a lot of balance. And I thought Celtic were pretty good. So very direct, got the ball forward. Johnny Kenny getting a couple of goals. Probably does him a lot of good. A lot of folk were doubting him and criticising him. He scored a couple of goals, could have had a couple more. Negan scoring. I mean, Benjamin Negan must be the most bewildering player I think I've seen for a long time. I mean, Martin O'Neill doesn't believe in XG. I'd love to see Negan's XG. It must be about 140 expected goals. The amount of chances the guy misses is unbelievable. But he's in there. He's in there. He's creating and he's causing a bit of havoc. If he could finish, you couldn't buy him. I mean, I think this is why he's £2 million and not £200 million, because he's missing 3 sitters a game. and scoring and an assist. So he's I mean, talk about data and all that stuff. His data must be through the roof because of that, and that's why Celtic have already got him. He's very effective. I mean, if he could finish, it would be unbelievable. And I think there is a bit of physicality issues in games against tougher opponents. As I say, Falkirk weren't great. A couple of cheap goals in there as well. But all in all, I think it was a kind of trip down memory lane, but also a kind of bit of positivity for the future.
You know, Mick, I heard that story, Dan. I heard an interview with Martin O'Neill there just a couple of minutes before we come on. And you know what he's like, and you know he's playing the old kind of, silly old me, I'm just a wee Irish guy, and you know, and he kind of did it the first time around. Now he's doing it, but now I'm really old as well, and just ignore it, right? Because he's so much more smarter, and he throws out all these red herrings. But in a radio interview, he said, "Well, you know, that's great, and I'm hoping to see more of that from Johnny Kenny, whether it's whether I'm a long time here or probably just a shorter time." And then the interviewer picked him up and said, "Sorry, what was that, Martin? Longer time? Oh no, slip of the tongue." And you're thinking, and I do wonder. I know that we'll probably talk about this. We'll probably talk about the fact that Celtic have launched a search for Brendan Rodgers' replacement. Paul Tisdale's in charge of it. I don't think that Martin O'Neill is completely given up on the idea that, you know what, if I get a number of results here, you just don't know.
We were talking about it in the press room. Is it too early to ask the question if he's going to be here for the long term? It's too early. It's not. Listen, I think that's not even on the agenda. I still don't think it's not going to be a realistic option. What nights like tonight does is buys them a bit more time. It's Rangers on Sunday, a different ball game, completely, and the narrative will completely flip if that result doesn't go Celtic's way. If it goes their way, then I think the questions might come in, but I still think it's way off that stage. I don't think it's way off the agenda at this point in time. I think very much full steam ahead for a new manager, with a target of being perhaps an international break. I think
we've got tons of comments coming in already, guys. If you want to get involved, please do so. The one player that we haven't mentioned yet, Mick, is Marcello Sirachi. Robert says he was unreal. He was like 2 Tierneys. John says Sirachi was the most impressive player tonight. He's given Martin O'Neill a bit of a headache ahead of Sunday, hasn't he?
Potentially. I think he's been looked pretty impressive anytime he's played, to be honest with you, in the odd bumpy moment, but I think he's looked pretty decent. And as he builds fitness, he hadn't played an awful lot since kind of February, March. As he builds fitness, I think he's been all impressive. He's very good going forward. He can go inside and out. I think at a time when Celtic are needing kind of a width and attacking options, I think he like tonight he was excellent. Again, you've got to take into account Falkirk started okay, held on. I mean, the first goal was crucial, but after that, the game was up. And John McGlynn says straight away, "Oh, it's not about tonight; it's about Sunday." But so I would take it a wee bit of pinch of salt. But I thought Sinachi was good. I think he has been good. I think Kieran Tierney obviously playing 3 games in a week took its toll on him a wee bit. So you think he might be okay for Sunday, but he's a very good option to have. And the way he keeps playing, he is going to start asking that question because I think Kieran Tierney. I don't think people have been quite critical of him. I don't think he's been that bad. I think he's been decent at times. He's clearly having to build up his fitness. He's clearly not quite there. But it's definitely thrown a spanner in the works. I mean, it's a good option to have for Celtic at the moment.
Do you think if he's fit, if Tierney's fit rather, he'll start at the weekend?
I would think so. Also in terms of experience, I mean, Kieran Tierney he's been in this fixture many times. He's played at a high level in Premier League in England, played in Spain, played for Scotland. He's an experienced campaigner who knows what it's about and knows what this game's about. I think he still, for me, would get the nod. And also, he's got a lot of ability. Don't forget, he's got ability as well.
Yeah, and let's get it right, guys. That was Martin O'Neill being shrewd and just saying, "Kieran Tierney, I'm wrapping you up in cotton wool tonight, son. There is no way that I want you to go out there and play midweek and again on Sunday." So Kieran Tierney was allowed his feet up tonight specifically for Sunday, in my opinion.
Very much so. But I say, you can. But I think you're now at the position you can say to Kieran Tierney, go out and give us an hour of the old school, full on, full pelt, 100% up and down the pitch, and don't worry about it because after half an hour to go,
Yeah.
I've got another guy who's going to come in with no bother. So go and empty your tank and see how you get on. So yeah, I think it's good to have those options.
What was the mood like in the place, Mick? Because obviously, and I think we've got a video, some footage of what was going on outside the front doors before kick-off. So with Martin O'Neill coming back, a sort of an emotional outpouring towards him, a 4-0 victory. Did you feel that over the course of that 90 minutes, things were healing a little bit, or on the final whistle, was it mumping and moaning?
No, it was a strange. I must admit, it was a strange atmosphere because it was almost like Celtic fans would kind of enjoy the moment and say the feel good factor, the kind of, as I say, the kind of the rewind festival kind of feeling, a bit the nostalgia of it all, and enjoy the fact the team are playing good football as well, good, fast, direct football, which has been lacking this season.
Mm-hmm.
But every time it seemed to be, any time they did allow that to happen, they kind of caught themselves and kind of blasted it at Desmond or Michael Dickinson or the board in general. It was almost like, whoa, enough of this frivolity. Let's get back to business. There's a bit of that as well. So it was a strange atmosphere. It was a kind of strange atmosphere, swinging between kind of party and protest.
I tell you
which
what,
is sometimes that's the best part, doesn't it?
I tell you what, though, it does set it up really interesting. I know we'll talk about the Rangers game later. I think we'll be joined from Easter Road by Fraser Wilson. But Rangers, you mentioned that Celtic were more direct tonight under Martin O'Neill, getting the ball forward more quickly. That was the exact same case again with Rangers under Danny Rowe tonight. In the game that I watched, there's a lot more aggression and intensity to the way that they're trying to set up. So, I mean, look, given how bad the first Old Firm game of the season was, it's unlikely to be any worse than that. But I just feel if you've got two sides now that are set up to be front-footed and aggressive and a little bit more direct, I think we could get a real humdinger at hand.
But it always is. I mean, I think the last Derby game was so bad. I mean, it was so non-eventful. And the reason why I think it stood out so much because it's never like that. I mean, there's so many epic battles through the years, and it very, very rarely lets everyone down. You've had 3 each games, and I mean, usually loads of goals. I think it was only the 3rd or 4th goalless draw in about 20 years in that fixture. Mm-hmm. So that was a standout for being so epically bad. I think this one's set up to be a cracker by hook or by crook because I think both sides, like you say, are vulnerable. They've got new kind of management teams in the dugouts and all that stuff, and there's so much at stake. I think it's going to be an absolute cracker. Yeah, I agree with you, and that's one of those ones that you do think anything could happen. Mm-hmm. Absolutely anything could happen.
100%, Mick. And I think looking back to that first Old Firm game of the season at Ibrox, that was a game. The two teams looked terrified of it, and the two teams looked perfectly happy to settle, shake hands on a point each, and up the road with no real damage done.
Aye.
That rule, that philosophy cannot apply to this game for all the opposite reasons. It's a semi-final. Somebody has to win it, so you've got to go and try and win it. And now I think you've got two managers that might be a little bit more direct and aggressive about trying to how they set the team out. So I honestly think we could be in for absolute mayhem on Sunday.
Yeah, if the first game is keys up, this is gloves are off, isn't it?
Aye.
Do you know what? I know I'm all over the place here, Keith, but as you mentioned, we do have video footage of the protest outside Celtic Park. Should we squeeze that in here before we need to let Mick go?
Yeah.
Let's have a little look.
Was Mick in the front?
I should apologise for any bad language that was picked up there, but we're after the 10 o'clock watershed. But aye, it was pretty intense, Mick.
Yeah, no. To be honest with you, I was filming some of that footage and it didn't look as intense as that. If I see it back, it looks far more feisty than I thought it was at the time.
I thought I'd been in the front row there, Mick.
I thought that some was a funny coloured vape that they're using. It was a flare that, doesn't it? Yeah, listen, it was a sizable crowd making their feelings known. I think you can't. I'm not being kind of joke about it. It was a decent enough crowd giving it loudly. So I mean, as the message, and I say that's right below where the board will be sitting pre-match. So they heard it loud and clear. So they know that the anger is still there. And it's okay. I mean, David doesn't also pin it all on Brendan Rodgers. And he's probably sitting tonight going, look at. I was right. Look how free they were tonight. How well they played. It was all by Brendan's fault. But the punters aren't really seeing it that way. They know that the summer window was not good enough. It's the European record in the recent years and the qualifiers getting missed. It's not about the manager at Celtic. It's way beyond that, and there's some issues that need addressed. So I don't think that's going away anytime soon. I think if they can get a few results and then appoint a manager that they're happy with, it might start kind of repairing some of the damage, and then have a big January transfer window. I think if you can do that and get back in this title race, then you might see some steps towards some sort of peace breaking out. But that's a long way off at the moment.
On the manager, Mick, what you're hearing, I've got a little bit of information earlier on today. I think there's a bit of legs in this link with Craig Bellamy, by the way. I think that's really interesting, and I think it becomes even more interesting when you factor in the fact that the interim appointment has been made, that people are talking about. We don't know quite how long that might be required. And Bellamy, of course, is about to go into the final 2 games of the Wales World Cup qualification campaign with a chance of a second place finish in the group, which would then set him into the World Cup playoffs, which aren't until March. So all that is quite interesting. I'm not sure that the intention would be to wait all that long, or maybe it would be. Maybe Martin O'Neill does keep it till the end of the season and Celtic go without a permanent appointment until the start of next season. Is that even feasible? I
don't think so. I think listen, if Wales trip up, it might become a different matter. They look as though they should to get those results in the bag and get to that playoff. With Bellamy jump before then, I can't see that. I think this is a job that would really appeal to him. And by the way, dozens of others as well. I mean, we're talking about a hard sell. It's not a hard sell for a manager coming into Celtic. I think he's definitely a name bouncing around. I think there's hurdles to clear, but I think there's hurdles with a few of the guys mentioned already. I mean, Kieran McKenna's another one that's been high up in the kind of list of names getting thrown around. Also some hurdles to clear for that one. I think financially, yeah, I mean, Celtic have got plenty of money. That's not going to be a problem. I mean, they just spent £5 million ahead on a couple of wingers. One of them doesn't even play that often. So that's not a problem. Wages, it's a high earner, but Celtic down to 4, but high earners. It depends. I think it more depends on the man himself. He's came close to a few jobs. I mean, he was tipped for a Man United job at one point. Obviously been at the club before, and Brighton and Chelsea were stuff about him as well. I know his stock's kind of cooled off a wee bit since then, but he's seen as a kind of a rising star in the English management. I mean, I know some Celtic fans are going, "Oh, it's another Russell Martin job," because our CVs are kind of similar in terms of being successful in the Championship and then been relegated and that kind of stuff. I don't think it's quite the same with him. I think he's in a different trajectory. However, it's an interesting one, but I think there's hurdles. I think there's going to be quite a lot of names in the frame. I see the Club Brugge boss is thrown in there as well. Interesting one. I know he's got a good side right now. I don't know. It's another kind of bit of a leap at this stage. I think they're going to take a bit of breath, take a pause, collect their thoughts, and then make their moves in the next kind of week or so.
We're about to be joined, as you can see on your screen, by Fraser Wilson from Easter Road. But before we let you go, Mick, what's your prediction for Sunday?
For Sunday? Oh, man. Do you know what? I think I genuinely. I mean, I know it's a cop out. I think there will. I think there will be goals. I think I could go all the way. I mean, I don't like. I can't. You can't say these things because it's almost like the kind of was it the actors in the Scottish play. If I say the kind of the words, it's going to happen. I want to go home for a Sunday dinners on Sunday rather than be there at Hampden at midnight. But I think it could be a very long day that could swing either way.
He's on the fence, Keith, isn't he? He's scalps in his backside.
Listen, we've got about a dozen more shows and podcasts to do before then. I'll reveal all near the time.
That's a very good point.
A bit like the Celtic board, I'll gather my thoughts and get my ducks in a row before I make any big decisions.
Well, I tell you what, Mick, see when you're sitting in that fence, budge up a bit, because I think there's 2 or 3 of us jumping on.
Exactly. As long as this fence is heated.
Mick, as always, it's an absolute pleasure having you in the Hotline Live. But I'll let you go and get a heat.
Take it easy, chaps. No offence, Fraz. I'll see you later.
Cheers, Mick. And as Michael Gannon says there, Keith, we're now joined all the way from Easter Road by Fraser Wilson. Fraser, how's it going?
Good evening, lads. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Part of the record hotline 1 in, 1 out policy, Fraz.
Apologies if there's an echo here. I'm in an extremely empty gangway in the home end, which cleared out a good half hour ago. So I fear there's a bad echo in here.
No, you sound okay. Let me throw a couple of comments at you, Fraser, to get started. Gravy says, Rangers done brilliantly tonight. Played the dirty side of the game most excellently. Rangers, is he okay? Says, that's such a good win for us. Didn't give up a sniff until the penalty, and Butland has stepped up like a true leader. So nice to have a proper manager who's getting the most out of what we have. Anne-Marie says, thank God for Butland as well. And JGC says, roll on Sunday. Big win for Rangers.
A massive win. You know, I can't disagree with any of that. The only thing is, quite a lot of it contradicts each other, because Rangers were in control of large parts of that, and they certainly did look a lot more cohesive than they have done earlier this season. But at the end of the day, they nearly imploded again with that penalty concession. So if it wasn't for that brilliant save for Jack Butland with 4 minutes to go for Jamie McGrath's penalty, then we might have been talking about more shipped points here and Rangers' old failings coming back to bite again. But look, no, Jack Butland stood up, made a fantastic save, and Rangers got over the line for a win that I think they did just about deserve in the end up. And you know what? The scenes at the end, it doesn't have to show you how quickly football can change. I mean, after just 2 wins, Danny Rowe appears to have brought that connection back between the stands and the pitch. You know, there was the scenes of him being pushed out in front of that away support by his own players to take the acclaim as his name rang out from the 1,000 or so travelling punters. What a change for the last few weeks of Russell Martin. Incredible what 2 wins back-to-back can do. But you know what? It looks like he's actually found a system here that does kind of maximise that group of players that they've got. That's got them playing with a bit of cohesion. I would say there's tentative signs that it's found a system that can actually get them functioning, maybe look less vulnerable on the transition, as the cool kids like to call it these days. Still didn't carry a massive threat, but I do think this system, a 3 at the back, 2 wide guys, basically a 3-4-2-1, is working at the moment. It'll be interesting to see if he sticks with that at Hampden at the weekend.
Couple of things that I thought, Fraser. First and foremost, Danilo's da was the star of the show. I don't know if you were able to see it from the press box. He was at the front of the away end.
Yes.
He had a flag, he had his wee Rangers top on, a wee woolly hat, and he was having the time of his life, dancing away and all this. And then at the end, Danilo went and hugged him.
Yeah. Met him last season, saw him last season, so I didn't see him tonight, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Absolute star of the show.
If he doesn't lead the team out at some point this season, even at Hampden as a mascot, then I'll be disappointed because he's made for the role.
On a more serious note, my take on the first half was that Rangers were quite good in terms of there was a real intensity to what they were trying to do, whether with the ball or without the ball. Pressing, they got the first goal, they got the opening goal out of pressing Hibs really high up the pitch. I think it was McDermott that won the ball back. Quick turnover. Sharmiti got the ball into Danilo, and it was a brilliant finish. It was a kind of roll of the studs under the studs with the ball, just to make a bit of room, half a yard, and then a brilliant finish. They didn't create loads, but there was 2 or 3 other chances in that first half. But I think what would be most pleasing for the Rangers supporters is having had how many months of Martin ball, and just watching the thing getting, passed sideways and back the way. And all of a sudden you can see a clear ramp up in terms of the intensity, the tempo, the aggression, the purpose, all these things that were missing from Martin ball in a very short space of time have been implemented by the new manager. That will give the fans a lot of hope. And then I think there was the flip side of the coin in that second half, and maybe particularly in the last 10 minutes, when you knew that Hibs were going to throw the kitchen sink at trying to get an equaliser. They were so resolute, and there was a togetherness about the players that I think has been missing for months. And when I say even the little incidents, there was a couple of flashpoints in that last 10 minutes where Raskin was getting involved, I think, with Iredale. But you remember the thing that used to get with Alex Ferguson's Manchester United, and by the way, this is not a comparison with this current Rangers side and Alex Ferguson's Man United, other than to say when there was little flashpoints and there was arguments between players, Rangers players over the last wee while, I think, would have just walked away and let the other guy deal with it. They were all jumping in tonight. Mm-hmm. And on the final whistle, celebrating that result, they were all together. There was a togetherness and a harmony that I've not seen, and I think that will appeal. Second half, seeing that resolve and unity will probably appeal to the Rangers supporters as much as the first half, and the fact that they're trying to move the ball forward and do something meaningful with it. I think that these are big signs, and of course I think that's the first clean sheet that they've kept away from home in about a year, nearly a calendar.
25 games, 25th attempt it was since December the 8th or something, a game at Ross County last December. It's incredible. Wow. But talking of stats, and this backs up what we've just said, Keith, this was a real serious test for Rangers tonight, because had Hibs avoided defeat here, that would have been a full calendar year without a home defeat in the league for David Gray's side. Hadn't lost since the start of November here against St Mirren in the league. So that would have been 16 games unbeaten at home in the league, but that record's now blown apart. And as I said earlier, I think Rangers just about deserved it. Like you said, they didn't create an awful lot after that fantastic finish for Danilo, but I feel like they were in control of the game. When Martin Boyle came on for Hibs, I thought, right, this is going to be a real serious test for the last half hour for the Rangers defence, because there were gaps in behind them. I thought his pace could really hurt them. But to be honest, apart from the penalty kick, they didn't really create an awful lot. That came for a James Tavernier slip, of course, didn't it? So, no, like he said, there was that resolute kind of character to the performance. And I tell you, I watched Danny roll through a lot of the game, and he kicks every single ball with him for the touchline. He's a mildly spoken man. And again, he came into the press room there and shook everybody's hand before he sat down to actually conduct the presser. But on the touchline, he looks like a different animal altogether. He was kicking every ball, shouting, cajoling, agitating, marching about. It just looked like a man that was thoroughly invested in the game, and that's what supporters like to see as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Now you come to mention it, he looks a little bit like your long-lost German brother, doesn't he, Danny?
Oh, come on, I've heard that all week. Well, I'll tell you what, I've got 10 years on him, so I'm taking that all day long. I've got a good few grey hairs more than him as well, so yeah, I'm happy with that.
I would give that a couple of weeks, it'll be level.
I did say that to my mum. She was one of let's not go there. She was the first to come up with a comparison, but he's built like me as well. There's not a lot of them.
Exactly.
Aye.
Before we let you go up the road, Fraser, I've just put Michael Gannon on the spot. I know you've not seen Celtic play tonight, obviously, but having seen the Rangers performance, what's your thoughts ahead of Sunday?
Oh, come on. Oh, it's a piece of string. That's a toss of that literally is a toss of the coin for me. Two sides that have been reeling of late. I was there for the final last year, and you couldn't have got a slip of paper between the two of them in that game. I thought Rangers maybe edged it, and Celtic won it in penalties. It's going to be another tight one. It could go all the way again. Who's going to take their chances? That's what it might come down to. And right now, come on, I'm joining Mick in that fence. I haven't
Yeah,
really thought about it, Daniel. That's my excuse. I've
No.
no thought about who's going to win this, but it's going to be hell of a tight.
No, that's
Momentum
understandable.
slightly in Rangers' favour. I don't know. I really don't know. I didn't see Celtic tonight underneath Martin O'Neill, under Martin O'Neill, sorry. So that's such a tough question, isn't it? I thought we were meant to ask the tough questions.
It's a bad one. I apologise for
What's
that.
Keith saying? What's Keith saying?
What is Keith saying?
impossible. I'm the three of us are sitting in the fence tonight, so it better be sturdy. How are you meant to call it? How are you meant to call this? Because this is now Martin O'Neill Celtic, not Brendan Rodgers Celtic. There does seem to have been a bounce with a result and performance tonight. Goals getting scored again, which Celtic have been struggling to do. There's that emotional attachment now and the momentum that might build behind Martin O'Neill. And then the flip side, this is Danny Rowe in a very short space of time has completely put Russell Martin's vision of Rangers in the bin, which is where it belonged. And there is this new, intense, high tempo, purposeful approach. In terms of the players, the recent games have shown that actually, when the two sides are out on the pitch, there's not been a great deal of difference. I think this game might be won and lost in the dugout areas. And you've got a guy of vast experience who's been there and done it all in Celtic's dugout. And you've got this new guy coming in at Rangers, Danny Rowe, that doesn't know the fixture. That could even help him. Going into a game not really fully aware of how much it means. And what I'm sure, listen, he'll have an idea. Of course he will. He's not daft. But it's not until you're actually out there in the thick of it that you fully get to grips with what that fixture is. Maybe a bit of naivety on his side might not be the worst thing in the world. Who knows? And this is why it's impossible. Listen, do you know what I'll do, Daniel? I'll go, and it's nearly bedtime now, and I'll go and have a long think about it, and I'll give you an answer that's a little bit, more defined tomorrow night. But right now, the way I look at this, it could be 4-0 Celtic, it could be 4-0 Rangers, it could be 3 each, penalty kicks in extra time, it could be anything. So I'll need to have a long, hard think about it.
I think that's reasonable.
Don't let it keep you up tonight, Keith. Come on. We know you'll only be wrong anyway.
Exactly right.
Fraser,
I'll not really be losing any sleep over it, to be honest with you.
Lads, I think I'm missing the player follow-up in there. Better get back in.
I was going to say that, Fraser, it's always a pleasure having you in the Hotline Live, but we'll let you get on. Much appreciated.
Thanks, cheers. See you later.
Cheers, Fraser.
Thanks, Fraser.
Before we wrap up, Keith, I think we can have a little look here at tonight's results and in just a moment, the Premiership table. I mean, you mentioned earlier the Hearts result came from behind to get a draw at St Mirren. Massive win for Aberdeen. Just when it feels like Jimmy Tillon is on his last legs, they seem to pull out a result.
Aye, and he manages to prolong everybody's agony because that's all this is just now for Aberdeen. Now, who knows? Maybe they'll pick up and go off on a run, but I just nothing. It just doesn't feel right around about Aberdeen, and that gives more reason for prevarication and for delay and a bit of dithering. I think with a new sporting director going in there, I think they've got to be looking very seriously about with the international break around the corner, is it something they should be really seriously considering? Yes, would be my view on that. But I think the big one there tonight, the really big one, was the Hearts result in Paisley. And not because they've dropped points, but because they've come back to take a point. Going to Paisley, away to St Mirren, is one of the more difficult venues in the league. That's why St Mirren keep kind of defying all the odds and getting top 6 finishes. It's a really difficult place. They're a really awkward side to play against. I don't buy into this thing that the football's kick and rush stuff. It's not. There's a lot of thought going into what St Mirren doing. I think they're a decent watch, and it's a really difficult venue. So at the best of times, at any time, that was going to be a real test for Hearts to go there and to avoid defeat, especially when they're coming down off the high of beating Celtic at Tynecastle on Sunday. So for them to go into a situation where they I think they thought they were 3-1 down. I think there was the VAR check went on for an extended period. They got that kind of lifeline thrown at them, and they've managed to come back. And I think they could have won it themselves. I'm pretty sure that they've had a goal chopped off later on that could have been a winner. That tells you something about the camaraderie and the spirit and the resolve and the momentum that's building there. I actually think, although they'll maybe feel as if it was 2 drop points tonight, I'm not sure. I think the fact that they've shown the mettle and the stomach and the desire to fight their way back and leave St Mirren without dropping 3 points, I think that might be a good sign for Hearts, a real positive one.
Every point is going to be a prisoner this season, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to run away with it. I mean, a couple of comments that are coming in on this. John says the first wobble from Hearts and they're not in Europa either. A 6-point gap is nothing. Pegleg says it's back to 6 points. The heat is on. Sean says if Celtic can stumble their way to January, still in contention and fill a few gaps in the squad, it's not far away. I think it's going to be very tight. Yeah,
I mean, the concern has got to be, Celtic actually hoping for a transfer window to come around. Is an uncomfortable place to be in because they couldn't wait for the last one to close. They had better have a better, more organised approach to January because reinforcements may very well be required. I think we should say as well, brilliant result tonight for Motherwell, 2-0 win at home to Dundee United.
Definitely.
Yeah, and Aberdeen's away win at Kelly. As I said, it just keeps that Jimmy Tilleen pot boiling for a while. But yeah, a Wednesday night with 5 top flight games. I'm all in favour. I'm all in favour of it.
Can he whack it?
Yeah, but there's not many of them. I mean, I don't know how many we'll have of them this season. Hasn't been many over the last 12 months or so, has there? So, but yes, I think significant results, significant performances, and all those now point to Hampden.
Absolutely. I think that brings us to the end of our late night Wednesday Hotline Live. Thank you very much for all your comments. It's massively appreciated. And we will be back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. to do it all again. I hope you can join us then. But for now, Keith, it's always a pleasure.
Night to night, Daniel.
Night. And thank you very much for watching at home. Hope you can join us tomorrow. Cheers.